She's Esther Bible Study. Today we are on chapter 6. And we left off with Haman getting the gallows built for Mordecai, because remember, he got angry with him, he went bow down to him, and he wanted to hang him. He was going to go the very next day to the king and let him know. Chapter 6. It starts off with, that night the sleep escaped the king. So he ordered the book recording of daily events to be brought out and read to the king. So when I investigated that a little bit further, one of the things that it said in my notes in my Bible was maybe that the king suffered from insomnia. It says don't we know that when people are in power like that and they have all these things on their head and all these worries and all these just things that they have to, this burden that they have trouble sleeping. I mean, heck, I have insomnia. I have trouble sleeping sometimes, mostly between 1 and 2 o'clock at night. But my Bible specifically says he may have suffered from insomnia. But I choose to believe that the Lord purposely withdrew his sleep that night. And there was a purpose for it, right? This is the purpose. He had them come out and read the daily events. And when they were reading the daily events, it was from years ago. And remember back in chapter 2 when I said, oh, this is kind of an odd place where they put Mordecai when he saved the king's life. Remember, that it was just like inserted in there. Hear this. Verse 2. They found the written report of how Mordecai had informed on Bigthana and Teresh, the 2 eunuchs who guarded the king's entrance, when they planned to assassinate King Xerxes. The king inquired, what honor and special recognition have been given to Mordecai for this act, for saving my life? So, what are the chances of this night that Esther just got done having the first banquet? The king couldn't sleep. The Lord withdrew his sleep. He said, read me the daily events. They pick up the daily events from years ago when Mordecai saved his life. And then he says, wait a minute. What was done for Mordecai? What is recorded? The king's personal attendants replied, nothing has been done for him. Verse 4, the king asked, who's in the court? Now, Haman was just entering the outer court of the palace to ask the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows he had prepared for him. Verse 5, the king's attendants answered him, Haman is there, standing in the court. Have him enter, the king said. Bring him inside. Verse 6, Haman entered, and the king asked him, Haman, what should be done for the man who saved the king's life, and I want to honor him? Haman, tell me, what should be done? Haman thought to himself, who is the king? Who is it the king would want to honor more than me? This is how wrapped up in himself he is. Who is it the king would want to honor more than me? Haman told the king, for the man the king wants to honor, have them bring a royal garment that the king himself has worn, and a horse the king himself has ridden, which has a royal diadem on its head. Put the garment and the horse under the charge of one of the king's most noble officials. Have them clothe the man the king wants to honor in the best garments. Parade him on the horse through the city gates, through the city town, through the city square, and proclaim before the people, this is what is done for the man who the king wants to honor. Haman is saying all of this to the king. The king told Haman, hurry and do just as you proposed. Take a garment and a horse for Mordecai, the Jew, who is sitting at the king's gate. Do not leave anything out you have suggested. I would have given anything to see Haman's face, the look on his face when he heard the king say that. So Haman took the garment and the horse. He clothed Mordecai, the man that he was building gallows to hang that very same day. He clothed Mordecai and paraded him through the city square, screaming out loud, to everyone who was watching him, this is what is done for the man who the king wants to honor. Now take that. Verse 12, then Mordecai returned to the king's gate, but Haman was overwhelmed. I bet he was. He hurried off home, and guess what? He was so overwhelmed, he covered his head. Haman told his wife Zeresh and all his friends everything that had happened. His advisors and his wife Zeresh said to him, since Mordecai is Jewish and you have begun to fall before him, you won't overcome him because your downfall is certain. And she's right. While they were still speaking with him, the eunuchs of the king arrived and rushed Haman off to the second banquet Esther was preparing for him and the king. So guys, here we see that God redeems Mordecai's actions for saving the king. It may have taken some time. Why did it take some time? Because God had a purpose. There was a perfect purpose. God had a purpose for Mordecai's plan for the king to honor Mordecai's, what he had done for him, save his life. There was a plan. It saved him from being hung on the gallows. And just so, his enemy was one that paraded him around the towns. His enemy was the one that said, this is what should be done. And I just want to offer you a little bit of hope that sometimes, yes, God does prepare tables before us in the presence of our enemies. Sometimes our enemy's downfall is certain because God is on our side. When you do right, when you honor God, when you pray, when you fast, when you seek God, when you want to do what is right, God is going to honor it. And your enemy's downfall is certain. Take hold of that. And stay tuned for chapter 7.